What's up, everybody? Phil with Alpha Bow Hunting. We're going to talk a little bit today about shot selection while hunting using a hinge release. So this time of year, we typically get a lot of questions with whether it's new hunters moving into the field for the first time, or hunters that have changed equipment specifically in the form of a hinge style release, and those that have decided to move into a hinge release for hunting applications. There's definitely some different things you need to be thinking about. And if you've spent any time following our channel and understanding some of the methodologies that we teach, we like to teach effective range, break it into thirds, use those thirds to help you give you green light, red light situations for specific shot scenarios. For example, if I've got a shooter with a 60-yard maximum effective range, they've got a 0 to 20-yard first third, they've got a 21 to 40 yard, and then a 41 to 60 yard. This is going to be their middle, their last third. Okay, so again, in the scenario where a shooter has a perfectly broadside shot, animals feeding, animals out there in that 55 to 60 yard range, might be green light for you depending on your comfort in that distance based off this cluster. Now, taking it a step further, when we start to introduce other moving parts in the form of a release, there are certain scenarios you're going to have to consider that you might have to eliminate from your green light, red light shot scenario process. Now, as much as a hinge release can help some bow hunters be consistent the majority of the time and give you the best accuracy you can get in those scenarios where you might be in a moving animal, for example, or a shot that you have to get on a shot and really get on the trigger quickly to execute a command style shot. Sometimes those shots don't break as cleanly or are as accurate as they can be because of the method of really executing a shot properly with a hinge release. So a couple things to think about. Personally, number one, and this goes for any release, not just a hinge release, I would never set any release that I hunt with very light. A hair trigger in the field is not a good thing. You start to get in a situation where maybe you've hiked into a position, heart rate's up, breathing hard, you're excited, and if your release is too light, one of those times that you're breathing hard, you could accidentally set it off. Same thing with a moving shot. Anytime you move posture, core rotation, angles, and if you're not perfectly comfortable with those situations, it may be enough just to accidentally set that release off. So never have the release set too light, number one. Number two, as you start to compartmentalize, if you decide to follow a system like ours, whether it's for green light, red light shot scenarios based off of distance, now we're also starting to quantify that and put your plan together with the tools you're using. So moving shots may be red light regardless of the zone you're in, based off of a new tool. Now, somebody that may have been hunting with the hinge for 15, 20 years and really understands how to manipulate the release to get what they want, I'm not telling you what to do, I'm just saying things that you need to be aware of while you're shooting a hinge release for a hunting situation. The second thing being that scenario that could come about in the woods where an animal's walking through an opening and it stops between those two trees or a bush or whatever the case is perfectly for just a second. And if you happen to have an index finger release, you get there and boom, you can command that shot in that moment. A hinge release, one might think, I'll just set it real light, so if I need it to go, it'll just go off. I encourage you to consider to do the opposite, set it a little bit slower, get there and just work faster through that release if you have to get that to go. Again, I'm not telling you what you should or shouldn't do. in any situation. I'm just encouraging you to consider all the variables and all the moving parts. I've hunted with the Hinge release for probably going on 12, 13 years now. I've had a handful of bad situations, but primarily good situations, because this is the release that gives me consistent executed shots time after time in all scenarios. So those moving shots have pretty much just went away. Unless it's an elk targeted inside of 10 yards at a very slow pace, maybe 15 yards, I'll consider that. Small target, whitetail deer, antelope, that kind of thing. You just got to be disciplined to understand that this is going to give you a better overall success rate potentially based off how you execute shots, but you will have to eliminate a few things. So the other thing is, I just encourage people, there's a ton of releases, Hinge releases on the market now that are coming out with cool accessories for the bow hunter in mind. You know, somebody that wants to be able to attach this to their wrist and still be able to not worry about it or not think about it while they're in the field. Some really cool releases on the market and highly adjustable releases on the market. So again, if you consider to use a Hinge for an upcoming hunt, then I'm with you. I'm one of those that have decided to do that a long time ago, but just understand the limitations that are created by a new tool. Don't always accept that is going to be the bottom line. Just continue to work it, learn it, and then at some point maybe you decide to add that back into your, you know, maybe it's in your first, third zone that you consider to introduce a certain scenario again. Anyway, just wanted to touch on that topic as we get closer to getting prepped for hunting this upcoming season. Any questions or comments, make sure you list them below. Any other videos that you want us to touch on, topics like this that are not so much how-to videos, but maybe just, again, philosophy, methodology, things to consider. Love to touch on those kind of topics. Anyway, thanks for checking us out. We'll see y'all soon.